Welcome to the Deep Doc. So glad you could join us. Today, we're really getting into something that affects so many people, often quietly burnout. We all kind of use the word right. But our sources today show it's much deeper, more complex than just being tired. We might uncover some things that surprise you.
Yeah, the sources we're drawing on are really powerful. Some are deeply personal, real stories from real people, might sound familiar, but they're also practical, really clear insights and some actual steps you can take. So our mission here is to unpack what burnout actually is, how it shows up in ways maybe we don't expect, and really importantly, how to spot it and start healing. Let's get past just being tired.
Definitely. Let's dig a bit deeper.
Okay, so to really get a feel for this, there's this one story from our sources that just,
Oh.
wow, it's about someone, 28 years old, seems successful, good job, nice place.
Look good on the outside.
Totally, but inside, completely numb, just
Hey.
empty. Exhausted, couldn't sleep though, loads of people around, but felt totally alone.
That isolation is so common. And the kicker is, nobody noticed. Not even they really noticed until they just broke down. Crying in the work bathroom, telling friends, "Oh, I'm just tired."
Yeah.
It sounds like way more than tired, doesn't it?
It absolutely is. And that story, it really highlights how burnout can be invisible until suddenly it's not. It creeps up. And often there's this intense guilt tied to it, right? Guilt about resting, about slowing down, even when your body is screaming for a break.
Yeah, like you should be able to handle it.
Exactly. Like it's a personal failing instead of a response to chronic stress. There's this societal pressure almost to constantly perform.
That really resonates.
Okay.
And this invisible buildup, it happens in all sorts of situations, not just high-flying careers. We have other story, someone in college
Mhm.
juggling 2 jobs, full-time classes, and looking after a sick parent. I mean, just imagine that pressure.
It's immense.
And their mindset was, if I just push harder, if I just work more, it'll all be okay. But the outcome ended up in the emergency room, collapsed from exhaustion.
Literally collapsed.
Yeah. And even then, what was going through their head?
It's quite startling, really. Even after collapsing, the thought was, I'm just being lazy. That internal narrative, it's like self-gaslighting.
Wow.
Dismissing your own body's desperate signals, telling yourself you're failing, you're not trying hard enough, when you're actually running on empty, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How often do we do that to ourselves? Brush off those signals.
That's a heavy question. And it brings us right to it. What is burnout then? If it's not just being really, really tired, what's the actual definition we're working with from the sources?
It's quite specific. The sources define it as chronic emotional and physical exhaustion caused by prolonged stress. And here's the key part, especially when you feel powerless or unappreciated.
Okay, so it's the exhaustion plus that feeling of lack of control, of not being valued.
Exactly. It's that combination, the chronic stress, the deep depletion, both body and mind, and that sense of futility or lack of agency. That's what sets it apart. It's not just needing a weekend off. It's more like a system overload.
And the ways it shows up,
Mm.
it's not just feeling sleepy. Our sources list a whole bunch of symptoms.
Right.
Much more complex.
Oh, definitely. We're talking anxiety, sometimes depression, that really frustrating brain fog where you just can't think clearly.
Yeah, I've heard people describe that like wading through mud mentally.
Exactly. And even physical illness. Your immune system can take a hit. Headaches, stomach problems. It can manifest physically in so many ways.
So it really impacts your whole being.
Absolutely. And another crucial point from the sources is broadening where we think it comes from. It's easy to just blame work.
Right, the demanding job.
But it's often not just the job. It can be relentless demands in relationships, the sheer effort of parenting, the pressure cooker of school, or even just, as one source put it, trying to survive in a chaotic world, that constant background hum of stress.
That makes so much sense. It's rarely just one thing, is it? It's the pileup.
Precisely. Which makes you think, how many different parts of your life might be feeding into that sustained stress level? It's usually a blend.
Which underlines how widespread this really is. And speaking of that, there was this listener story shared in the sources, Melissa's story. Really powerful. She was working 2 jobs, raising a toddler on her own. Just picture that for a second. The sheer exhaustion.
Unimaginable pressure.
And she hit a wall. Couldn't stop crying one night, chest pain, hands shaking. Thought she was genuinely dying. Rushed to urgent care.
Terrifying.
And the diagnosis, burnout and panic attacks. And the really telling part, she admitted she'd been ignoring signs for months,
Yeah.
pushing through.
That story. Yeah, it hits hard because it feels so real. So many people are living that right now.
Hmm.
And it loops right back to what we were saying, ignoring the signs, the guilt about resting, that feeling you have to keep going until your body just forces you to
Like
starve.
an emergency brake.
Exactly. So, what can we take away from Melissa's experience? How can we get better at listening to those earlier signals, those whispers before they become screams? What little signs might we be dismissing right now?
That's something for all of us listening to maybe reflect on. Does any of that resonate? Maybe you see it in yourself or someone you care about. Okay, so we've painted a picture of what burnout is, how insidious it can be. But let's shift gears. What can we actually do about it? Our sources don't just leave us there. They offer hope. They offer steps.
Right. This is the crucial part moving towards solutions. The sources lay out 5 really practical strategies, ways to recognize it and ways to start recovering.
Okay, let's hear them.
First one, recognize the signs early. Seems obvious, but it's vital. If you're always tired, not just sometimes, if you're feeling irritable all the time or just disconnected, pay attention.
Don't just brush it off as a bad week.
Exactly, that constant low-level dread or snapping easily, those are signals. Early awareness is your first line of defense, catching it before it snowballs.
Makes sense. What's number 2?
Second, say no more often. This is huge. Our sources frame it perfectly. Boundaries aren't rude, they're life-saving.
Life-saving. That's strong.
It is, because every time you say no to something that drains you or isn't essential, you're saying yes to conserving your own energy, protecting your well-being. It's about setting limits,
Right.
politely but firmly.
Okay. Protect your energy. Got it. Third.
Third, talk to someone. Don't try to muscle through it alone. Reach out. A friend you trust, maybe a coach, a therapist.
Just voicing it can help.
Immensely, as one source said, speaking your truth can start your healing. Just getting it out, admitting I'm struggling, can be incredibly powerful. It breaks the isolation.
Right. Okay, number 4.
Fourth, rest without guilt. This is a big mental shift for many people. Rest isn't a luxury you earn after you've done enough. It's essential maintenance.
Like charging your phone.
Kind of, but maybe more like rebooting your whole system. The sources emphasize recovery isn't just taking a long weekend. It's about fundamentally rethinking your pace, resting before you break, and letting go of that guilt that tells you should be doing something productive.
Rethinking your whole pace. That sounds fundamental. And the last one. Number 5.
And finally, number 5, rebuild your identity. This one goes deep. The insight here is realizing you are more than your productivity.
Ooh, say that again.
You are more than your productivity. Your value as a person isn't tied to your output, your job title, how busy you seem. Burnout can strip away everything else. Recovery involves rediscovering other parts of yourself. What else defines you? What nourishes your soul outside of work or obligations?
Finding yourself beyond the doing.
Precisely. It's about reclaiming your wholeness, remembering you're not just a worker bee, you're a human being with diverse needs and interests.
Wow. Those 5 steps. They feel very actionable. Recognize the signs, say no, talk to someone, rest without guilt, and rebuild your identity. It gives a roadmap, doesn't it?
It really does. It shows there are concrete things you can do.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, if anything we've talked about today struck a chord with you, if it felt familiar, please know you're really not alone in this. Experiencing burnout doesn't mean you're weak. Actually, our sources suggest it often means you've been incredibly strong, pushing through for far too long without the breaks, the support, the rest you needed.
Absolutely. And maybe one final thought to leave you with. Thinking about this bigger picture, recovering from burnout, it's not just about getting your energy back. It feels more like reclaiming your intrinsic worth, understanding that your value exists completely separate from what you produce or achieve. So the question to ponder might be, what would it truly look like, feel like, for you to prioritize your well-being not as some optional extra, but as the absolute foundation of who you are?
That's a powerful question to sit with. Thank you for exploring that with us. And to everyone listening, until our next deep dive, please take good care of yourselves. You truly deserve that.